Have you gotten to the point where you have planned and defined your brand and you've moved on to the stage where you actually need to be your brand and you're feeling a little bit stuck about how to approach that? In this video, I'm going to share you my best brand management techniques, tactics, and tricks that I use in my own brand to make sure that we're staying consistently on brand and also consistently growing our business. My name is Kaye Putnam. I'm the psychology-driven brand strategist, and I'm so excited that you are here. If you are an entrepreneur who is ambitiously growing your brand, I would love if you hit subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. When I think about brand management, it's really a circular process. It's a cycle that you have to go through over and over and over again to make sure that you're staying on track and that you're consistently getting better and better over time. Okay, so step one, we are going to identify which systems are in play in your business. Step two is to set standards for each of those subsystems underneath your main brand. And then step three in brand management is to assess on a regular basis how well you're living up and to track the measurement and analytics for each of those systems. Think of your brand as a system. What happens in your brand repeatedly? For example, people probably sign up to your email list, or you onboard new clients and customers into your business. Maybe you produce content and distribute it to different platforms. All of these things are repetitive actions that happen again and again as part of growing your brand and being your brand on a day-to-day basis. Think about each of these items as a system. You don't want to reinvent the wheel every time you do this. You don't want to have a different process, a different system every time a client or a customer buys something from you or engages your help for a service. That would be a disaster, right? It would be completely inconsistent and it would cause way more work on your end. So the more systemized and consistent it can be from person to person, the more efficient it is and the higher quality it is because you have the time on the front end to think about exactly how you want it to work. And then on the back end, in this cycle process, you can assess what is working and what needs to be improved. Now, once you identify which systems are active in your business, whether that's an advertising like lead generation system, some type of public in-person events where you're showing up and speaking or networking, producing content, working with your clients or customers, then you have to set specific standards for each of those systems. You've already planned your brand. You know the visual standards, you know the messaging standards, or if you don't, go back and start there first. But now that you know all of the overarching standards that applies to your business, then it's time to define all of the standards that fit all of the subsystems that fall underneath your brand. And then step three in brand management is to assess on a regular basis how well you're living up and to track the measurement and analytics for each of those systems. I do this monthly, quarterly, and yearly on different levels. Monthly, I'm looking at the most important metrics. Quarterly, I'm taking a look at the strategy and setting new 90-day goals. And then again, yearly is a bigger, more in-depth process where I'm looking at all of the stats, assessing the overall holistic look of my brand. Each system is going to have its own set of metrics. So for example, social media, you might be tracking the number of followers or the engagement level. Overall, you're probably tracking how many leads are coming into your business, how much they cost, how many customers you're receiving on a month-to-month basis and how much they cost to acquire. On a customer experience level, you should be tracking things like how many questions are coming in, what their satisfaction is, and the outcomes that your clients are getting as a result of working with either your product or your service. Once you have those analytics, you can start to spot places where you can improve. You can do this by looking for benchmarks within your industry, asking peers what their numbers for different things are, or just paying attention to trends in your own business. And this is probably the most powerful way to identify places to improve. If your cost per lead is going up over time, that might be something that you want to address. Or if you notice that you're converting a lot of people on the front end, so you have a lot of people joining your email list, but you don't have a lot of people that are converting to actual paid clients, then it's time to look at your conversion systems, which are a part of your brand. Once you identify which ones aren't performing as well as you'd like, then you have a singular focus where you can work on improving that system within your brand. If you need help tracking this or paying attention to the different metrics or just this ongoing process of brand management, inside of my brand resource vault, which you get access to when you sign up for my email list on my website at kayeputnam.com, you can have access to the brand tracker that I use to track those monthly, quarterly, and yearly goals that I am assessing my brand against. If you're finding this helpful, please hit the subscribe button, press the bell to get notifications when I publish new videos all about improving, scaling, upgrading your brand, and leading the market.